Welcome to episode 59 of Motivating Mondays, a weekly podcast and YouTube series dedicated to help Canadian job developers and other employer engagement professionals develop the tools, resources, expertise, and network to excel at achieving sustainable employment outcomes for their clients or students. My name is Christian St. Cyr, National Director of the Canadian Job Development Network, and today we're going to talk about 4 objectives any job developer should pursue when cold calling an employer. When you don't have an existing relationship with an employer, you should be seeking an opportunity to have a more meaningful conversation, gathering information, presenting your services, or working to build awareness. We'll break down the most effective ways of accomplishing these goals. Years ago, I was being interviewed about the job market on a radio program by a very prominent broadcaster who had been in media for decades. Now, I'm always fascinated by people's individual career paths, and so during one of the commercial breaks, I asked him what was the most important lesson he learned which had most impacted his career. He thought about it for a moment and replied, "I never take a meeting without a clear understanding of what I hope to get out of that meeting." Sure, that's a little bit self-serving, but I've thought about it for many years. How often do we sit in other people's meetings? And not only are we not thinking about how we might benefit from the meeting, we're just waiting, desperate for the meeting to end. In most meetings, are you thinking about what you hope to get out of it? Now, I'm going to go on a limb here. I'm going to encourage you to be a little more selfish, a little more self-serving. If you're considering how every meeting, client and employer engagement, how every opportunity to meet someone new is going to benefit you, it's going to, by extension, benefit your clients, your employer, and your funder. Your success is a measure of your organization's success. This is more so true in employer engagement and co-op education and job development than in nearly any other career development role. Your success is evidence that case management or training or resume prep or other employment supports work. This certainly applies to meeting and following up with employers, but it's front and center with how we connect with employers for the first time. I've often spoken about Jeb Blunt's book, Fanatical Prospecting, which explores how to effectively prospect customers in sales, but I believe there are also applications in job development. Blunt writes extensively about cold calling and how people will try to tell you this is no longer effective, but it remains the cornerstone of nearly every successful salesperson. In his book, Blunt argues that salespeople do not like to cold call because we don't want to interrupt people. He believes there is no way to sell anyone anything unless you're prepared to interrupt their traditional patterns. The same could easily be said of any employer who faithfully turns to their favorite online job board to find candidates. In his book, Blunt outlines 4 objectives when cold calling an employer. These include, number 1, set an appointment. The primary goal for most complex, high-ticket B2B sales, this could include job development, this involves getting a firm commitment from a qualified decision maker for a very specific time or discovery call. Second objective, to gather information and qualify. Figuring out if the prospect is actually worth your time. This means determining if they have a budget, if they are the decision maker, if they are in an active buying window, and filtering out unqualified leads as they aren't. Third objective, close the sale. The main objective if you're selling transactional, low-risk, low-cost products. If the price point is low enough, you ask for the commitment right then and there. Build familiarity. Getting your name, your company, the value proposition in front of the prospect. Building familiarity is vital because it often takes 20 to 50 touches to engage a completely cold prospect. Each call you make, even if they don't answer, creates a small deposit of brand recognition. This list is not only intended to support salespeople, it often uses sales terminology. Nevertheless, there are applications for career development. Take, for instance, set an appointment. Now, we're tempted to try to market our clients and services with a lengthy script to an employer, hoping to capture their interest, but instead we're just giving them an opportunity to develop a reason not to meet with us. Instead, we want a face-to-face meeting or to schedule a time to discuss our services over the phone or online. When we catch people during the day, we are interrupting them, and they don't have time to focus. By scheduling a time, we hopefully have freed them up from their immediate concerns and we're able to get their undivided attention. Blunt encourages people to adopt an inquisitive approach where you introduce yourself in a sentence or two and say how you would like to know more about how they hire people. Perhaps you can support them, perhaps not, but you would like to know more. He encourages people to suggest a time the employer must respond to. Can we meet this Thursday at 2 p.m.? If the employer says that they can't make this time work, then you can ask, well, what time would work better? How about Friday at 1 o'clock? Now, it's a pretty aggressive strategy, but it has a good track record of success. The second objective is to gather information and qualify. Well, what does this mean in job development? We want to learn which employers are likely to hire our clients when the time comes. So you might ask probative questions around areas such as whether they've hired people through a similar program in the past, whether they've participated in wage subsidy, or if they have a DEI policy, whether they support programs that support immigrants or those with disabilities or women or youth or Indigenous Canadians. These questions help to qualify an employer who is likely to be a prospect for future job development activities. The idea of closing the sale, well, this requires a little modification. You're not necessarily trying to close a sale as much as you're trying to get your client or your student hired. In sales, you might be selling a very straightforward product, and all you need to do is to ask the customer whether they're prepared to buy. For instance, springtime lawn rehabilitation. You explain the service, and the customer makes the decision in the moment as to whether or not they want to purchase the service or not. In job development, you see an employer who is hiring for a job your client is looking for, and you call to see if you can set up an interview. Perhaps you have a client who's looking for a job as a restaurant server, and you just keep calling restaurants to see if you can get an employer who's willing to meet with and interview your client. The idea of building familiarity, while the objective of close the sale is employment, this familiarity approach, is really good for increasing awareness of among local employers about your services and supports. By regularly calling up an employer and pitching your clients you work with, you slowly help better understand you and your role. You help them come to understand you and your role in the community. We also build familiarity through one-on-one meetings and when we gather information about a prospective employer. By regularly calling companies who might be suitable employers for your clients, you slowly build up that familiarity so when one day you are looking to schedule employment or gather more information, they're going to be open to it. Cold calling isn't the most preferred activity among many job developers, but adopting a clear sense of what you hope to achieve with each call provides you with an easily repeatable activity you can practice again and again with employers. While success in job development is best measured in the richness of the relationships we form with employers, it's the repeated practice of regular outreach that helps form and cultivate those relationships. A clear understanding of these 4 objectives can create a valuable framework for future success in job development. As we go through today's topic, I come to realize that understanding employers is understanding the labor market. For myself, I've spent more than 25 years studying and reporting on the labor market. It's not only taught me a wealth of information about employment, employers, and the changing job market, but it's also grounded me in an objective understanding of how great job developers need to have an informed understanding of both of these. We would love to share this information with you through the British Columbia, the Alberta, the Prairie, the Ontario, or the Atlantic Canada labor market reports. If you'd like more information on any of those, we have a weekly subscription that provides people with great information about their local labor market. You can find out more by going to jobdevelopment.org and just click on the labor market report of your choice. I just want to thank you so much for joining us today. These sessions are available and online on YouTube and most podcast platforms. Just search for Motivating Mondays wherever you download podcasts and subscribe or like and share. This really helps others in Canada's career development sector find out about these podcasts. Now, we do these sessions live and for free every Monday morning on Microsoft Teams with job developers all across Canada. It'd be so great if you could join us. Just go to jobdevelopment.org to learn more. And if you have any questions, you can send me an email. My direct email address is cstcyr@labormarketsolutions.ca. Thank you so much for your time and have an amazing week.